Good evening, class. Good evening, Professor. My name is Jesse Montez, and tonight I'm going to be speaking to you about global warming. There is much evidence that suggests that global warming is occurring around the world. However, there is some controversy that surrounds that concept. The controversy is whether or not global warming is caused, or at least accelerated, by humans, or whether the Earth is just on a climactic cycle and now it's time for it to get warmer. I'm going to touch on three main topics. First, what is global warming? What are some of the major signs? And, like I said before, humans or just Mother Nature? So global warming is just that. It's the Earth getting warmer. What are some of the signs of global warming? According to the Union of Concerned Scientists, signs of global warming include heat waves, sea level rise, flooding, melting glaciers, earlier spring arrival, coral reef bleaching, and the spread of disease. As you can see from the map up here, there are many indicators located around the world, but the majority of them center in the United States and a little up in Greenland. The reason why the majority of them center in the United States is because the majority of the scientists that are studying global warming are in the United States. The Union of Concerned Scientists is an accredited charity with 67% of its $23 million budget coming from member contribution. Their charter says they are comprised of citizens, scientists, and business people who advocate for practical solutions for a healthy and sustainable future. The United States Environmental Protection Agency lists another sign of global warming that is very little known, or not very well known, and that is the spread of the mountain pine beetle. We'll touch on that a bit later. The first indicator that I'm going to discuss is glacial melting. As you can see from the slide here, it has photographs going back to 1941 and 1909. The first on the left is the Muir Glacier, and then on the right, the McCarty Glacier. Both are in Alaska. As you can see on the left, in 1941, the glacier covered the entire valley, and now in 2008, it's non-existent. The same can be said of the McCarty Glacier on the right. According to an article printed on the Weather Channel's website, a team of international disease ecologists wrote how diseases such as dengue fever, malaria, and cholera thrive in warmer climates. The reason these diseases thrive is not because the disease does better when it's warmer. It's because the vehicle that transmits the disease does better when it's warmer. That vehicle is a mosquito or a tick. And you can see here the size of a mosquito, which is on a human thumb, and then a tick, which is maybe a quarter the size of a dime. These little guys have a lot of punch, and as it gets warmer, they breed more, they spread more, so they spread more disease. That's why it's believed to be an indicator of global warming. I don't have a photograph for it, but the mountain pine beetle is a beetle that has the same effect as mosquitoes and ticks do for humans on pine trees. And what that means is they breed more in warmer climates. So what that means is the less cold, the more environments that they have to spread. A study conducted by the Canadian Forest Service says that infestations of pine beetles have moved further and further north as climatically unsuitable areas have decreased. The math is simple. A larger area to infest means more pine beetles. The last indicator that I'm going to talk about tonight is earlier spring, and you can see from this slide up here that depending on the area of the United States, spring has come earlier from 1 to more than 5 days, about 2 to 3 in California, and up on the top, up in Maine there, and Maryland, maybe 5 or more days. The last major indicator of global warming that I'm going to discuss is the amount of CO2 in the environment. Today's CO2 levels are around 400 parts per million, or 40% more than the highest natural levels over the past 800,000 years. Research sponsored by the Environmental Defense Fund shows that the reason for these extreme rise in CO2 gas is the burning of fossil fuels, and to a lesser extent, the clear cutting of forests. The reason for that, or that is a clear indicator that the reason for global warming is at least increased by human behavior. There isn't much science that proves the negative. So the argument that it's only a climatic change, there is some that exists, but it's like proving a negative. How do you go about doing that when you can see very clearly that the signs or that the indicators really point towards humans? In this speech I've covered what is global warming, what are some of the major signs, and then the controversy that surrounds it, whether or not it's just humans or the climate. Are there any questions from the audience?
Can you give us your opinion?
Thank you, that's a good question. I'm not going to be giving my opinion on this one, I'm just trying to present some of the evidence. So thank you all very much and have a good night. 0 minutes.